The cast and guests of Inside IOST do not intend to convey investment or financial advice. Please do your own research before choosing to buy or sell any digital assets or cryptocurrencies.
All right, everybody out there, welcome back to Inside IOST. This is the first and the best source for all of your news, information, happenings, mishappenings, and anything going on in the IOST ecosystem. We are in Washington, D.C. You might see a backdrop behind us. You might see the White House. You might see the Capitol building. We also have Pete K on the line. Pete, why aren't you in Washington, D.C. with us? What is going on?
There's a massive storm. Not only did it knock out my internet back at home, but there were flash flood warnings the entire 3.5-hour trip down to D.C. I didn't want to deal with that. You know, my tires aren't the greatest. So I decided to remote in here from a place that has internet, Starbucks. I hope the background noise doesn't distract.
So you folks at home, you see who's really dedicated to the cause. You insiders see who's really on the up and up when it comes to IOST.
Oh, by the way, I have all the equipment. Somebody forgot all the equipment on their trip to Washington, D.C.
That is true.
Good thing dedication all around. Yeah.
Hey, I have equipment everywhere. Well, this is my equipment too. Don't forget about it. So we make things happen. Anyway, we've been away for a little bit. We do have some housekeeping stuff we want to talk about. I think to not, try and oversell our insiders. We know you guys really appreciate the show, and we appreciate you guys watching the show. We are probably going to move to a every other week show, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense given our schedules right now and the news cycles. We're going to do every other week and bring you the same great quality news, but it'll be every other week.
Yeah. So, and the reason being, you mentioned the news cycle. It is maybe there's not explosions going on all the time, but if the news picks up, maybe we can do short episodes. We do want to continue doing some very awesome tutorials. I know Pete's been working hard on an awesome tutorial to talk about inflation and clear up some of the questions that people have had about inflation. So, Pete, I know you're working hard on that at Starbucks, wherever you are, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's coming out soon. It's going to be really exciting. And, there's a lot of questions people still have about IOST, and a lot of community members out there in other blockchain communities that haven't heard of IOST still. So it's our job to get the word out.
And hey, speaking of announcements, we're going to do the old announcement of an announcement. We have some big news.
Ooh, big news.
Very soon for the IOST community. We're super excited about some products that we've been working on that's going to really improve the user experience for IOST community members, and especially new members, people who want to get into the IOST community. Our vision is to grow the base of users, and so we've been working on some great new tools, and we're super excited to share them with you. So it won't be long now. We're very close.
So speaking of improving the user experience, there was some news out of KuCoin recently, right? Something about something that we've dreamed of for a long time. Being able to change your vote.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, they made it so now if you hold IOST on the KuCoin platform, they'll do what they call soft staking, which is automatically staking for you and distributing the rewards to you, which I think is really cool. I mean, if you have a token that you choose to keep on an exchange, it's nice to be able to get some staking rewards while it's just out there instead of it doing nothing for you. So they've got this new soft staking program, and you're gonna get rewards back from it, which is really cool. And then if you want to pull your IOST out, I don't even think you have to wait 7 days with them. They probably have a large reserve, and they've just said you can take your IOST whenever you want it. So they must have a large enough reserve to cover that. If you pull out whatever 10,000 IOST, they have enough to cover that for 7 days.
So obviously, we don't recommend people keep any large amounts on exchanges. As much as we might like KuCoin, they're just big targets for hackers and so on and so forth. But we still need a mainnet solution. That's not the right term. An off-exchange solution where you can somehow change your vote from your own wallet whether that be something the foundation adds to the protocol or whether that be something that we figure out, as we've talked about before. I don't know if we're going to get that solution out anytime soon, but it would be great if anyone has any ideas, please pitch them out here. We need to be able to modify votes, I think, without having to wait that 7-day period, because that's, like I've said before, that's incentive for people to not unvote for bad nodes, right? If a node does something terrible and you go, oh, I want to move my vote to another node, you feel less inclined to do that when you have to wait 7 days and not get any rewards during those 7 days and things like that.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. I hate having to wait 7 days just to change my vote. I think they should change it in the protocol.
Wait a minute. You vote for nodes other than inside IOST?
Oh, well, no. I only vote for inside.
I vote for Jason Stallings' node, Blanc Arcade. I threw him 5,000 votes. So hopefully,
nice.
Trying to help the little guys, the builders out there, the bidlers. We've got our Telegram channel has become kind of a cool place for the devs to hang out, at least in my opinion, as much as it's going on anywhere else in IOST right now. And I'm fine with us cultivating that community,
Definitely. We got some talented people on our channel, and I love reading the stuff that gets posted there. I mean, there's some cool stuff going on, and I like seeing that conversation happening on the channel. It's cool.
Right. So speaking of our IOST Telegram channel, we had to do a new submission for the quarterly rewards. That was submitted before July 7th. We actually had ours in like day one. We were on the ball. We were ready to go with that. And every node that wanted to submit for this quarter had to have them in by July 7th. So people that are out there waiting, if you're staked to a node, if you're waiting, if you're staked to inside IOST specifically, you're hoping, you're cheering, you're praying, you got your fingers crossed that we are going to be a tier 1 node. We should be finding out about that. I would say within the next week, they'll probably make an announcement over who makes tier 1. And then you go through a bit of an appeals period, right? And then from there, the rewards come whenever. If you're still on BIS, it's definitely going to be a while. I would say don't keep your hopes up that they're going to come anytime in July. But I'm excited that I'm personally off of BIS. I don't know about you guys if you're still holding.
Well, in fact, now is the perfect time. I mean, BIS has been very helpful to this ecosystem, but now is the perfect time if you want to get off BIS to move off it, because we're just starting a new quarter. So if you move off BIS, you get your tokens off, and you've cast a vote now, you'll still get the lion's share of the contribution and quarterly rewards when this quarter ends. Yeah.
Right, and using Token Pocket or IOST ABC or some of these other wallets or online tools to vote. I guess iWallet would be the Google extension, or the Chrome extension rather. Using those tools, we've seen that the rewards come in a lot faster. So keep that in mind if you're sitting around waiting on BIS rewards. There's still a large amount of people. If you look at our votes, our individual voters, our unique voters, we actually did go over 100. I was checking a couple of days ago, so thank you to all our unique voters. If you're still on BIS, though, there's still a significant amount of people there, and you're looking for those rewards quicker. We advise maybe looking into an alternative. Token Pocket's a great one. Just falling in line with more of our contribution from last quarter. I know our last episode, Peter and I were getting ready for a trip to the Big Apple, New York City, to talk about IOST, and we did have a meetup there. We had a few familiar faces, some people from the industry, some people from outside the industry. Pete gave away a free hoodie, posed next to a Lambo out on the street. Pete, what were your initial thoughts about the meetup that we had in New York?
Well, initially I was scared that nobody was going to show.
Yeah.
But so we pushed out there anyway. We made the trip because, like, for Evan, that's a significant trip. For me, it's kind of down the road, but it's still the city, the traffic. We picked a spot, had some great gin, enjoyed some great conversations, and I'm looking forward to the next meetup, which is in August. Right, we're planning in August. Just mark your calendars. Just mark off the whole month. Like, we might not know the date yet. Just say this is IOST month. We're gonna I guess we could say it's probably gonna be towards the end of August, maybe third week. Let's go with that. All right, decided on the air. Third week of August. IOST New York is gonna have another meetup. So mark that down in your calendars and keep an eye out.
Yeah, and we'll hope to see more people there. Josh is actually fully committed to being there this time. He told me off air. we also, we'll have more time to actually tell people all about it. So we'll get a broader audience there. But I was happy that people showed up, and I had some friends from the traditional payments background that I happen to have. Some people from the dark side. A friend of
didn't one of those guys wear the hoodie?
Yeah. My friend Jake, he works for China Union Pay. They're actually in Jersey, but they're really close to New York City. And we had some interesting chats. I think he's coming around to the crypto side. So who knows? Maybe we'll see Inside IOST potentially push some sort of crazy thing with one of those big networks. But I'm not going to speculate on anything too crazy. It's definitely not going to happen anytime soon. But it's good to see people that are in that traditional space, see the benefits of crypto, right? There's too many middlemen, especially when it comes to payments with networks and processors. And when you pay someone with IOST, it's instant, right? And the only fees are minimal. So the NYC meetup was awesome. We're looking forward to the next one. Pete's going to get that organized for us. Other news, since we are trying to cover the news here, we are limited. We've only got 8 minutes left, according to Zoom. Infinity Stones or Inf Stones? How do you pronounce this? Is this a big EOS node that Pete, you said, just hopped on the scene out of nowhere?
Yeah, they caught my attention recently. Infinity Stones, and I had just learned from you guys that they moved over to IOST too. And that doesn't mean they stopped on EOS, but they've added IOST. We see a lot of these infrastructure-focused nodes like Attic Labs bridging across both things, and they focus on providing really good block production times, and teaching and helping other people as well to do the same thing. Is there anything else you know about Infinity Stones or what their plans are?
I was just checking out on blogs.io, which is basically the IOST ABC of EOS. They had all the voters or all the listed voters and their ranking. Infinity Stones or Inf Stones is ranked 12th right now on EOS, and that's actually a really significant position. I think you needed like over 100 million EOS staked. And Josh and I, we were chatting a little bit about the difference when you look at the block producers on EOS and the nodes on IOST is night and day as far as how much is actually staked to each. So if you look at where we're at right now, we're ranked like 33rd or somewhere 32. We've got just under 20 million IOST. So IOST is currently 1 penny. We'll get into price in just a minute. But the 35th ranked EOS block producer is Cypherglass, which we're very familiar with. Some of our viewers might be familiar with. They have 97 million EOS staked. And EOS is, somewhere around $6. Yeah. So the amount of stake.
Well, it's like $4.50 today.
Oh, well, $4.50.
After red day.
But regardless, that is a 450x the price of IOST. So the engagement, if you're going to look at a metric of engagement, when you compare EOS to IOST, IOST is definitely falling behind. They're lacking in that. And I know EOS had a bit of a head start on IOST for sure, 8 months or so. But we got to see more people staking and playing the long game with IOST, in my opinion.
Yeah, that means getting people into the ecosystem, which is why more tools are needed, more development's needed for that. I mean, we're working on something. I know Jason on our channel has been working on something. We talked about like a WordPress plugin a while back. They're just different tools that we could build because, as more and more people get into crypto, we want them getting into IOST, and we have to make it easy for them to do that. And right now, it's kind of difficult. You got to be really committed to sort of figure everything out. So our goal is to make it as easy as possible for your grandma to get into IOST.
Right. So yeah, Pete, do you have any feedback on like the amount of people we see staked on EOS versus IOST?
Well, I mean, I know like China has been playing a huge part in EOS recently, and Chinese investors and the Infinity Stones, like you mentioned, like a bunch of Chinese money, Chinese people moved in, and Chinese companies in order to pull a bunch of block producers up to the top spots. And I think EOS has a lot more rep in China still than IOST does, even though it's a project that's kind of external to China. right? Those Chinese, what is the Chinese group that rates? It's some government group that rates blockchains every once in a while, like every 3 months or something, comes out with a rating. And EOS is the top, and it's been the top for like 3 consecutive reports. And so EOS has China's broader attention. And IOST, I think, has some advantages that could push it to that spot of getting broader attention. But there still needs to be more building done. I mean, I think the foundation is this heads down building too. I don't know if you guys have heard recently. I'm hoping they're working on governance and things like that. But we just need some more time still to build more tools and build more companies and build more applications and get more people excited. And we need the market to continue heading up. These little dips like we're having today, they're not really so bad in the longer, bigger picture. But if the market keeps heading up, then we'll see people looking for more opportunities, more exciting things, more cutting edge platforms like IOST, not financial advice.
Right. And I know price is kind of the last thing we want to talk about before we wrap up, but I do just want to add one more thing to the Infinity Stones addition as a node to IOST. I do think it's generally a pretty good sign, especially because that huge contrast between EOS and IOST, you're going to have to invest a lot more to become a block producer on EOS, but the payoff is a lot higher. There's nodes out there that are in the top 21 that are running full-fledged companies. They have data centers dedicated just to transacting on EOS, and they're able to make a margin off of that. With IOST, right now, that's not so much the case. So to see a company like Infinity Stones come, they take a huge kind of financial endeavor in building a block producer on EOS, but then for them to actually also then invest in IOST, I think that's a good sign to see that these are out of the protocols that they've analyzed to opportunities for them to grow and to begin making money and hopefully be part of a decentralized network. We are down to the final 2 minutes according to our trial version of Zoom. We are low on equipment. We're low on time, but we are going to talk a bit about the price. Josh, give us a shot of confidence, man. What's going on?
Dude, the price got hammered today. Hammered. I mean, it went down below 1 cent, which was kind of rough because that 1 cent point is kind of like been that support for a while.
It's been that psychological barrier that we never thought would fall.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm still bullish on crypto long term. I'm bullish on IOST. I think we're going to have these ups and downs. We may still for a long time. But the fundamentals of cryptocurrency are strong. The fundamentals of IOST are strong. We just got to keep on keeping on. And as a community, everybody has to remember that. What do you think?
We forget this so often. But if you were around during the bull run of like 2016, 2017, there were pullbacks just like this, sometimes more severe and sometimes longer lasting. Well, I don't know how long this one's going to last yet. But the average length of them was days and days and weeks and weeks. So this is to be expected. It's part of how the space grows.
And and I will say that I remember the days when we were trying to get above 1 cent and hitting our heads off the ceiling. So don't worry about falling through the floor. We'll be back, and we will be back next week. We've got less than a minute left. We've got only seconds for Peter K on wherever he is in Starbucks, Josh and I in DC. This is Inside IOST, and we will see you next week.